You cry out to God, asking why? Why this loneliness? Why this isolation? Why this unbearable season of emptiness? And in that moment, when it feels like you are at your weakest, when you are convinced that God has abandoned you, He is actually preparing you. Because before He blesses you, He isolates you. God isolates you before blessing you to remove distractions and prepare you for a greater purpose. There comes a time in life when everything familiar begins to shift. The people you once trusted start to fade away. The opportunities you were counting on disappear, and you find yourself in a place of solitude, questioning everything. This is the moment when doubt creeps in, when you wonder if God has abandoned you, if your prayers have gone unheard. But what if this isolation is not rejection? What if this season of loneliness is actually preparation? God does not isolate you to harm you. He isolates you to prepare you. When He is about to do something significant in your life, He first clears the distractions. The things you once depended on, the people you thought would always be there, He removes them, not to hurt you, but to make sure that when the blessing comes, your heart is fully aligned with Him. The truth is, many people miss their breakthrough because they refuse to let go of the very things that are holding them back. They cling to relationships that are draining them. They rely on validation from others. They prioritize comfort over growth. But God knows what you need, and sometimes that means taking away what you think you want. In isolation, God teaches you to trust Him alone. When you no longer have the support of others, when the usual paths are blocked, you are forced to turn to Him. This is where faith is tested. Will you trust Him when nothing makes sense? Will you believe in His plan when all you see is emptiness? It is in these moments that God strengthens you, molding you into the person you need to be for the next level of your journey. Because the truth is, every blessing carries responsibility. If God were to bless you prematurely, you might not be ready to handle it. Look at the stories of those who have walked this path before. Joseph was isolated in a pit before he was elevated to the palace. Moses spent years in the wilderness before he led God's people. Even David, anointed as king, spent years hiding in caves before he stepped into his calling. Why? Because isolation builds character. It removes pride, it strips away self-sufficiency, and it teaches obedience. God doesn't just want to bless you, He wants you to be able to sustain that blessing. And for that, preparation is necessary. One of the biggest mistakes people make is resisting the process. They try to force things back to how they were, reaching for relationships that God has already removed, chasing opportunities that no longer align with their purpose. But the more you fight the process, the longer it takes. Surrender is the key. When you stop trying to control everything, when you embrace the season you are in, you open yourself up to what God is doing behind the scenes. The waiting is not wasted. The silence is not meaningless. In this season, God is working on you in ways you cannot see. He is refining your heart, sharpening your vision, strengthening your faith. What seems like a delay is actually divine timing. And when the moment comes when God finally reveals what He has been preparing for you, you will understand why isolation was necessary. You will look back and realize that everything that was taken away was making room for something greater. So if you feel alone, if you feel like you are in a wilderness season, do not lose hope. God is not punishing you. He is positioning you. Stay patient, stay faithful, and trust that when the time is right, the blessing will come, and it will be greater than anything you ever imagined. Every great person in history has gone through a season of isolation before their breakthrough. When we look at the lives of those who have made a lasting impact, there is a common pattern. Before stepping into their calling, they faced a period of isolation, hardship, and waiting. It is a process that cannot be skipped because true greatness is never built in comfort. God takes people through seasons of separation to prepare them for the weight of their destiny. This is not a coincidence. It is a divine principle. Joseph was given dreams of greatness. But before he could step into his destiny, he was thrown into a pit by his own brothers, sold into slavery, and imprisoned for years. It seemed like everything in his life was falling apart, but in reality, everything was falling into place. God was preparing him for the palace by allowing him to go through trials that built his character, resilience, and wisdom. If Joseph had not endured isolation, he would not have been able to handle the responsibility of leading Egypt. Moses was raised in the palace, surrounded by luxury and power, but before he could become the deliverer of his people, he had to spend 40 years in the wilderness, alone. He went from having everything to having nothing, from being a prince to being a shepherd. It was in that solitude that God prepared him, teaching him humility, patience, and reliance on divine guidance. When the time came, Moses was no longer the man who relied on his own strength. He was transformed into a leader who depended entirely on God. Even Jesus himself went through isolation. Before he began his ministry, he was led by the Spirit into the wilderness for 40 days. In that time, he fasted, prayed, and was tempted. It was a season of testing and refinement, ensuring that he was fully prepared for what was to come. If the Son of God had to go through a period of isolation before fulfilling his purpose, why would we think we can skip this step? Isolation is not a sign that God has forgotten you. It is a clear indication that he is preparing you. The reason so many people struggle during this season is because they do not understand what is happening. They see the loss, the rejection, the silence, and assume that something is wrong. But in reality, something is being set right. God removes people, closes doors, and shifts circumstances because he is aligning you with his purpose. If you embrace this season rather than resist it, you will come out stronger, wiser, and ready for what he has in store. It is easy to look at others who seem to be thriving and wonder why you are being left behind. But you are not being left behind. You are being set apart. Some people receive success too quickly, and because they lack the foundation, they collapse under the pressure. God is not just interested in giving you a blessing. He wants to make sure you can sustain it, and for that, preparation is necessary. If you are in a season of isolation, take comfort in knowing that you are not alone. Every great person who has walked in divine purpose has faced this same process. It is not the end, it is the beginning. The longer the preparation, the greater the purpose. The deeper the isolation, the higher the elevation. When the time is right, when you have been refined and strengthened, God will release you into your destiny. And when that happens, you will understand why this season was necessary. Stay faithful, because your breakthrough is closer than you think. God is building a strong foundation in your life to sustain the blessing he has for you. When God is preparing you for something greater, he does not just focus on giving you the blessing, he focuses on making sure you can sustain it. Many people want success, opportunities, and breakthroughs, but they do not realize that without the right foundation, those things can easily crumble. A building can only rise as high as its foundation is deep. If the foundation is weak, the structure will collapse under pressure. That is why God allows you to go through seasons of preparation before bringing you into what he has promised. In this process, God removes the things that would make your foundation weak. Sometimes that means taking away relationships that are not meant to last, closing doors that you thought would open, or delaying your progress to ensure you are ready. Many people struggle with this because they mistake God's protection for rejection. They see a closed door and assume God is against them, but in reality, he is saving them from something that would not support their future. The process of building a strong foundation is not always comfortable. It often involves loneliness, trials, and situations that test your faith. But every struggle is shaping you, strengthening you, and preparing you for what is coming. If you were to receive your blessing without going through this process, you might not be able to handle it. The pressure that comes with success, influence, and responsibility requires a person who has been tested, refined, and made strong in the unseen places. This is why God sometimes takes longer than we expect. He is not just interested in giving you what you want. He's interested in making sure you can carry it. There are people who rush into success before they are ready, and because they lack the foundation, they fall apart. They crumble under pressure. They make poor decisions. They allow the wrong people into their lives, and they lose what they were given. But when God builds your foundation, he ensures that when you receive your blessing, you will not only keep it, but you will thrive in it. The deeper your foundation, the greater your capacity. This is why some people seem to move ahead quickly while others experience long periods of waiting. If God is taking his time with you, it is because he is building something strong and lasting. The people who rise, but those who endure the process, who allow God to shape them in the hidden seasons, are the ones who stand the test of time. Think of a tree. Before it grows tall, its roots grow deep. If the roots are not strong enough, the tree will not be able to withstand storms. But the trees that endure, the ones that grow tall and strong, are the ones that spent years developing their roots underground. If you feel like you are in a season where nothing is happening, trust that God is growing your roots. You may not see it now, but the strength you are gaining in this season will be the very thing that sustains you in the future. God does not just want to bless you, he wants you to be ready for it. He wants to make sure that when you step into your calling, you will not be shaken by the challenges that come with it. So embrace the process. Trust that every delay, every setback, and every closed door is part of something bigger. When the time comes, when your foundation is strong and your faith is unshakable, God will bring you into the blessing he has prepared for you. And when he does, you will be ready to carry it. Isolation is not rejection. It is divine protection and redirection. When people walk away, when doors close, when life seems to push you into a season of loneliness, it is easy to feel rejected. It is easy to believe that something is wrong with you, that you are not good enough, that you are being abandoned. But what if what looks like rejection is actually divine protection? What if the things you are crying over are the very things God is removing to take you where you truly belong? Many times we hold on to people, places, and opportunities that were never meant to be part of our future. We become attached to what is familiar, even when it is not aligned with God's plan for us. But God sees what we cannot. He knows the hidden intentions of people, the dangers of certain opportunities, and the long-term consequences of choices we would have made if he had not stepped in. What we call rejection is often his way of removing what does not belong in our destiny. There are friendships you thought would last forever, but they ended. There were jobs you thought were meant for you, but they slipped away. There were dreams you chased, but the door remained shut. And in those moments, it hurt. It felt like you were forgotten, like you were left behind. But what if those things didn't happen to break you, but to build you? What if those endings were actually new beginnings in disguise? God is not just protecting you from what is bad. He is also redirecting you to what is better. Sometimes we settle for less because we do not know what God has in store. We get comfortable in relationships that drain us, in situations that limit us, in environments that stunt our growth. But God loves us too much to leave us where we do not belong. So he allows disruptions. He allows things to end, people to leave, and plans to fall apart, not to hurt us, but to lead us into something greater. When you look at the story of Abraham, God told him to leave his homeland and go to a place he did not yet know. That required trust. He had to walk away from the familiar and step into the unknown. If Abraham had refused to move, if he had held onto his old life, he would have never stepped into his destiny. The same is true for you. When God is shifting you, it may not make sense in the moment, but in time you will see that it was necessary. The pain of isolation is often the price of elevation. God cannot take you higher if you are still holding on to things that weigh you down. There are people you love, but they cannot go where you are going. There are habits you have, but they cannot sustain the next level of your life. There are mindsets you carry, but they must be renewed before you step into your destiny. So God isolates you, not to punish you, but to prepare you. The challenge is trusting him even when you do not understand. It is choosing to believe that his plans are greater than your desires. It is surrendering to his process, knowing that what he takes away, he replaces with something far better. And when you finally step into the blessing he has for you, you will look back and realize that what you thought was rejection was actually protection. What you thought was a loss was actually redirection. You were never alone. You were just being led to something greater. The deeper the isolation, the greater the elevation. When God sets you apart, it is never without purpose. There are seasons in life when everything feels still, when nothing seems to be moving forward, and when you feel like you are standing alone while others around you are rising. It can be discouraging, frustrating, even painful, but what if that isolation is a sign that something greater is coming? What if the depth of your waiting season is directly connected to the magnitude of your calling? The truth is, the higher the calling, the deeper the preparation. God is not interested in quick success. He is interested in lasting impact. Many people rise fast, but they fall just as quickly because they were not prepared to handle the weight of the blessing. God does not want that for you. He wants you to stand strong, to be unshakable when your time comes. And for that, he takes you through a season of deep refinement. The deeper the roots, the stronger the tree. The longer the preparation, the greater the elevation. It is not easy to be in a place where it seems like nothing is happening. You see others moving forward, stepping into their blessings, reaching new heights, while you remain in the same place, waiting. It feels unfair, like you are being overlooked. But what if God is not delaying you? What if he is positioning you? What if he is ensuring that when your moment comes, you will not just rise, but you will remain? Throughout history, those who were called to do great things endured long periods of isolation before their elevation. Joseph spent years in prison before he stepped into leadership. Moses spent decades in the wilderness before he led God's people. Even Jesus spent 30 years in preparation for a 3-year ministry that changed the world. If their seasons of waiting were necessary, why would yours be any different? The process of isolation strips away everything that is not meant to go with you into your next season. It removes pride, impatience, and self-sufficiency. It teaches endurance, trust, and obedience. There are things you cannot learn in comfort. There are lessons that only come through waiting, through silence, through being set apart. When God isolates you, he is refining you. He is strengthening your character, sharpening your vision, and molding you into the person who can carry the blessing without being destroyed by it. Many people sabotage their destiny because they rush ahead of God. They try to force doors open before they are ready. And when they step into places they were not prepared for, they crumble under the pressure. That is why God takes his time. He does not want you to just receive the blessing. He wants you to sustain it, to grow in it, to expand it. And for that, he will keep you hidden until you are fully ready. So if you feel like you are in a long season of isolation, do not be discouraged. Do not compare your journey to others. The deeper the isolation, the greater the elevation. If God is taking his time with you, it is because what he has planned is bigger than what you can imagine. Stay faithful, stay patient, and trust the process. When your time comes, when the doors finally open, you will see that every moment of waiting was worth it. And when you rise, you will not just rise for a moment, you will rise to stay.